There are almost no people left in the world who were destroyed by nuclear war. Anne's family survived because many years ago they settled in the mountains, where radiation does not reach. Her father went in search of survivors, her younger brother ran away, and she was left alone. In her free time from cultivating the land and preparing for winter, Anne visits the city, where the radiation is much stronger. Here she takes books and other household items. Anne comes here for a short time to avoid high radiation doses. After returning home, she thoroughly washes off any contamination that might have remained on her skin. She has to do everything herself, mending the fence, digging, hunting. She is always alone, and she is tired of it. Last winter, Anne almost died of cold and hunger. One day while hunting, when she was checking her rabbit traps, her dog smelled something. He ran to the road, and when Anne followed him, she saw a mobile trailer with a camping house inside. The girl hid to see who the owner of the house was. It turned out to be an adult man in a protective radiation suit with a dosimeter in his hands. He had obviously come from far away and was now incredibly happy to have found a land with almost no harmful radiation. The man immediately took off the suit and ran to the nearest waterfall. Anne decided to come out of the hiding place too late when she saw the stranger already swimming in the water. The man was frightened and grabbed for his gun, but Anne explained to him that the water source was far away from the valley, which meant it was contaminated with radiation. The man jumped out of the water, but it was too late. He received a serious dose of radiation, and the dosimeter confirmed it. He started to vomit. His strength was leaving him, so he quickly explained what drugs Anne should inject him to keep him alive. She had to carry the man on her back. In the yard of her house, she washed him and then put him to bed. The next day, she returned to the stranger's trailer to pick up the medicine. She brought the trailer back to her house and continued to take care of the stranger until he felt better. When he regained consciousness, it turned out that his name was Loomis. Anne prayed to God that Loomis would get well. Her father was a pastor and had built a small church in the valley so that the locals could come and listen to the sermons. This church had an organ, which Anne still plays from time to time. The prayers and perhaps Anne's care worked, and Loomis got back on his feet. He told the girl that he was a military engineer and was saved only because he was in an underground bunker during the bombing. He designed this protective suit himself, traveled all over the country in it, and saw only corpses and ruined cities everywhere. Loomis was ready to stop searching when he found this place. Anne tells Loomis about her brother and father. She shows him a photograph, and Loomis thinks he recognizes her brother's face. Anne does the housework, milking the cow and tending the garden while Loomis recovers from his radiation exposure. She digs the ground and uproots rocks by hand, even though she has a tractor. Loomis asks her about it, and Anne admits that the tractor is out of fuel and the gas stations are closed without electricity. So Loomis writes her instructions on how to run the column manually, and she succeeds. Now they have fuel for the tractor. Anne is very religious, while Loomis does not believe in God. Despite this, she reaches out to him and lets him know what she wants. Loomis is an engineer, so the first thing he thought of was electricity. However, the old generator is broken, so Loomis and Anne go to the waterfall where Loomis almost died. He says that a working power plant can be built in this place if there is enough wire. All that needs to be done is to direct the flow of water through a chute and from there to a wheel, to which a generator will be attached. Loomis suggests using the church that Anne's father built to make the wheel and gutter, but the girl is against it because it is all that is left of it. There are no other materials to make the gutter and wheel. Loomis agrees that they can look for other options, but the church must not be touched for now. One day, Anne discovers that the chickens have not laid any eggs, and she begins to suspect that someone has broken into their yard and stolen the eggs. While Anne is working, Loomis goes to the local store to investigate. The girl has almost taken everything out, but there is enough beer left for Loomis to get drunk. He can't relax and let off steam. It's hard for him to watch Anne work, and he can't do anything to help. Anne brings him home where they have a fight. The next day, Loomis had to apologize for his behavior. Anne decided to have a romantic dinner with Loomis. She set the table, opened a bottle of wine, and lit candles. When the alcohol went to her head, she asked Loomis to dance, and during the dance they kissed, but Loomis refused to go further. Despite Anne's wishes, he pulled away and explained that intimacy would only complicate things. They needed to spend more time together beforehand. Anne agreed. The next day, Anne went to check on the traps and saw a boy named Caleb standing next to one of them. He confessed that he had been stealing eggs because he was afraid he would be shot if he went to the owners. Loomis did not want to see Caleb. He checked him with a dosimeter and found a small level of radiation. Caleb told him that he and the other miners had taken refuge in the mine when the explosion occurred. He was the only survivor, but there was no good news on the radio, so he got to the surface and came to this valley. Caleb and Anne lived nearby, and Anne went to competitions at Caleb's school. Loomis sees that they have a lot in common, but it doesn't make him feel any better. Caleb has heard that there is a town on the border with Mexico where survivors live, and he wants to go there. Loomis doesn't mind Caleb going, but Anne insists that he stay with them for a few days. He needs to recuperate and improve his health. At the table, Loomis tells the story of how he met a teenager who had suffered from radiation on his way here. He begged him to kill him, but Loomis could not. He left the boy to die on the side of the road. Caleb told him that his partner had killed other miners, but for some unknown reason spared Caleb. At that moment, Caleb looked into the eyes of the killer for the first time. When they were alone, Loomis confessed to Anne that the teenager could have been her younger brother. Loomis shot him anyway, and it was only because of him that he found the place. He just went in the direction the guy came from. Caleb stayed with Loomis and Anne, started helping out on the farm, and they hunted together with Loomis. And when Caleb found out about the power plant, he convinced Anne to donate the church for it. Together, they dismantled the church building and began to make a wheel and gutter out of it. They also ran a wire from the waterfall to Anne's house. Loomis realized that Anne liked Caleb and that there might be feelings between them. Loomis became jealous because Caleb is younger than him and has white skin. Unlike Loomis, he thinks that it matters to Anne. Loomis makes it clear to Anne that he doesn't mind if he and Caleb start a relationship, but she is upset by his words. They have finally managed to install the platform and wheel on the waterfall, and now they need to put a spillway on top and direct the flow in the right direction. To celebrate this event, they have a festive dinner with wine, then start dancing, and at the end of the evening everyone goes swimming in the pond. Here Caleb suggests playing a game to find the bottle at the bottom of the pond. He helps Anne find the bottle, and they don't come up for a long time. Loomis realizes that Caleb is trying to seduce the girl. Loomis is drunk and afraid of losing her, so when they land, he pulls her aside and confesses his love. At home, however, Loomis is too drunk to continue the evening. Anne tucks him into bed and then goes to Caleb, and they make love. The next morning, Loomis realizes that something has happened between them. He is jealous and tells Caleb that he asked Anne to sleep with him to keep such a valuable employee. Caleb sees that Loomis is only saying this out of jealousy. Together, they go to install the gutter on the waterfall. Caleb climbs down in a hazmat suit to fix it, while Loomis stays upstairs to keep him safe. When it's done, Caleb slips, but Loomis pulls him up. Then he falls again, but Loomis picks him up again. Caleb looks into his eyes and realizes that for the second time in his life he is looking into the eyes of a killer. Anne, who stayed at home, is happy because they now have electricity, but Loomis returns with sad news. He says that Caleb decided to leave them when the gutter was installed. He asks her to say goodbye to Anne and then leaves to find the town where the survivors are rumored to be staying. Anne doesn't believe it. She runs after Caleb, but there is not a soul in the valley. While she was gone, Loomis moved the organ from the church to Anne's barn, creating a small island of faith that she missed. This is where the movie ends. That's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more videos like this.